Hi. Official recaps here.
In the middle of the sky, an unconscious man is falling at a very fast speed. His name is Royce, and he wakes up just in time to open his parachute right before he falls through the trees of a thick jungle and hits the ground, which knocks him out. He doesn't know where he is or how he got there when he wakes up again a few seconds later, but at least his clothes and mercenary weapons are still with him. Next to him, another man falls at that exact moment. A third man steps in between Cuchillo and Royce just as they are about to retaliate when the Mexican cartel member points his gun at Royce. He perished on impact because his parachute failed to open. They are suddenly attacked by gunfire, but Royce reacts fast to get out of the way of the gunshots and hide behind the shooter. The last memory Nikolai, a Russian commando, has is of fighting in combat. The same thing happened to Royce and Cuchillo. They were going about their daily lives when a bright light struck them, knocking them out, and then they materialized in the sky. They turn around to find Israel Defense Forces sniper Isabel pointing her weapon at them. She says she has visited a lot of jungles but doesn't know this one, and she has seen more people fall. Unaware that Hanzo, a member of the Yakuza, is observing them from nearby, they decide to head out together in search of the others. Hanzo tries to follow them, but he takes off his shoes as soon as they come into contact with the mud. As the group ventures farther into the jungle, they come across Stans, a prisoner on death row, and Mombasa, a rebel from a South African group, who are engaged in combat. Stans says something about a guy on a tree, and the men decide to stick together after seeing each other and ending their fight. This is Dr. Edwin, who became stuck in a branch with his parachute. After Royce shoots the branch to save him and forces him to fall into a lake, Edwin tells the same story as everyone else, oblivious to their location or the events that are taking place. Stans makes some creepy and filthy remarks, which Isabel has to ignore as the group moves forward. When they eventually locate Hanzo in the mud, he is frozen, not stuck, after discovering an odd totem with numerous bones beneath it. Mombasa remarks that trophies must be being taken by some hunter, adding that in his culture, the warrior with the greatest trophies is given the highest regard. Isabel disputes Nikolai's theory that this is some sort of test, pointing out that not all of them are in the military. Stans claims it's an experiment, but Cuchillo believes it's a ransom. Suddenly, they start to question whether they're dead and this is hell. Royce cuts them all off, telling them that they should focus on finding a way out rather than why it matters. Following Royce, the group crosses a jungle, and Nikolai stops to touch a pretty flower. But Edwin stops him, telling him it's poisonous and would paralyze him completely. With gratitude, Nikolai pledges to keep Edwin safe going forward. Isabel asks Royce to slow down after she has advanced a little further and demonstrates something to him. She makes an improvised compass and places it on the water, but it keeps going in circles. In response, Royce notes that it will be difficult to move around because the sun hasn't moved since they arrived. He also shares with Isabel his theory that they were handpicked because they are all skilled fighters plus a doctor. Before turning into a mercenary, Isabel assumes Royce was a soldier, but he won't elaborate. The group continues to walk until they come upon a cage. They carefully remove the sheet covering it to discover that it is empty. The bloodstains suggest that a creature of some kind was inside the cage, and it appears that the cage was dropped just like them. They will have plenty of company because when they look up, they see many fallen cages stuck on the trees. After that, as the group continues on, Mombasa unintentionally trips over a branch and sets off a trap. A massive swinging tree trunk, several falling wood stakes, and even a massive bear trap soon try to kill them, but they manage to avoid them all. Edwin remarks that based on the decomposition, the man has been dead for 2 weeks. Nikolai investigates the pockets and finds that the man was formerly a member of the USA Special Forces. Royce understands that the traps weren't intended for them, but rather for the killer, whom he takes to be considerably larger than them based on the placement of the traps. Mombasa notices something among the trees as they begin to move again, but she chooses to ignore it. He is correct, though, in that someone is using infrared technology to watch them and repeats everything they say. When they finally make it to the edge of the jungle and look up at the sky, they are met with a startling realization. A number of strange planets and stars indicate that they are not on Earth. To ask them to send them back, Royce determines they need to find out who brought them here. Stans is startled when the group abruptly enters the jungle again and a drone flies close to the heads. He bemoans his lack of weapons and makes threats against Mombasa, but before they can engage in combat once more, they hear snarling from the jungle. A terrible beast suddenly materializes and starts charging toward them, at which point the group opens fire. Although the beast is swiftly dispatched, many more of its kind are on the way. Edwin and Stans take off running since they don't have any guns. Edwin stumbles and a monster chases after him, but Isabel hits it exactly right. Royce uses only his knife to kill a beast while Nikolai and Hanzo take down another. Stans gets attacked by a monster as well and makes an effort to defend himself with a knife. Fortunately, Mombasa shows up and fires a few shots, killing the creature. A whistle can be heard far into the jungle, and all of the beasts abruptly flee as Edwin climbs a tree and Isabel is cornered by a beast and contemplates self-deleting. After that, the group gets back together and decides that they are indeed being pursued. The whistle called those animals back. They were hunting dogs testing the enemy. All the creatures that are brought into the cages are the prey, and the planet is like a vast hunting ground. Suddenly Mombasa notices someone is missing and they hear Cuchillo's voice calling for help among the trees. The group follows the noise and finds Cuchillo on his knees because of severe injuries, so Isabel tries to come closer to help him. However, Royce stops her and says it's a trap, proving it by throwing a stone. Stans points out there's nothing they can do for him and the other guys agree, ignoring Isabel's protests. As the men leave, Isabel decides to end Cuchillo's suffering and shoots him, however she can hear him asking for help again. Isabel runs away as it's revealed that Cuchillo had been dead all along and the voice had been a recording used by the hunter in the shadows, who is watching now too. The group keeps walking for a while and Royce analyzes the few clues he has to guess how the enemy behaves. This hunter wants them to run, so Royce thinks they should follow the dog tracks and get to the hunter first. Moments later, the group finds a camp and is disgusted by the creepy sight. The bodies of various different races are hanging on stakes and the ground is covered with the remains of various creatures, confirming that not only humans are brought to this planet as prey. At the back of the camp, they're shocked to find a huge ugly creature tied to a stake known as a predator. While Royce notices that Isabel is having a weird reaction to it, Nikolai comes closer and pokes the alien with his weapon, only for the creature to roar at them because it's actually alive. Isabel says they should leave immediately, but Edwin notices Royce is gone. Suddenly a bunch of spears pop out and kill Mombasa, causing Royce to rush out from the shadows and start firing wildly. The other guys help him and such a huge wave of bullets reveals that the hunter is also a predator using a cloaking device. As the predator fires lasers at them, causing explosions and flames everywhere, the group starts to flee. The group ultimately tumbles down a hill and plunges into a river after falling off a cliff during their escape. Unaware that a drone has located them and returned them to the camp, where it is discovered that 3 hunting predators are present. Isabel hits Royce for using them as bait after the group finds safety in a cave. Royce isn't sorry about it, though, since they finally know who is pursuing them and some information about their capabilities and hunting strategies. Then, accusing Isabel of having seen a predator before, Royce confronts her about her response to it. Isabel acknowledges that she has heard a rumor, alluding to the first film, that aliens resembling these ones were spotted in Guatemala in 1987. The others agree to assist Royce in creating a defensive perimeter and forcing the predators into a choke point. As they take up their positions in the jungle, Isabel uses her scope to spot movement among the trees. Since the enemy isn't attacking, Royce surmises that they may be aware of the traps. Edwin is made to run through the jungle until the enemy starts chasing him as part of a changed plan. After Isabel kills the hunter with her sniper rifle, the group approaches the body to find that it is not a predator but rather another victim from the cages. However, this isn't the creature she killed because her shot was on a tree. Suddenly, they hear a voice and someone appears behind Royce using a cloaking device. The hunter removes his mask and reveals he isn't a predator but rather another human named Noland, who tells them to be quiet so as not to attract the hunters. Noland has heard the group since they arrived, and after alerts them to an impending storm, he takes them back to his hideout, which is in an old, broken ship. Noland, who was the lone survivor of that batch, was dropped here in a box 10 seasons ago. Noland was also in the military at one point. He has remained hidden ever since, subsisting on the leftovers of the predators and their victims. It's clear that being here has affected him because occasionally he converses with a fictitious friend. Since he has killed 2 or 3 predators, Noland also has some knowledge of them. He knows that it is crucial to conceal human heat signatures in order to avoid being discovered, and that large and small predators appear to be at odds, which helps to explain the one they observed restrained. Because the predators are ever evolving, new victims are brought in each season, and they also bring with them new technology and hunting techniques. Though Noland notes that they wouldn't be able to pilot it, Royce understands that if predators keep returning season after season, then they must have a ship nearby. After that, the group continues to chat while Noland heads to bed. Stans shows them his sister's eerie tattoo, while Nikolai shows Edwin a photo of his children. When Hanzo discovers a samurai sword and remarks on it, Edwin discovers he can speak English. When he asks why Hanzo hasn't spoken up until now, Hanzo replies that he was punished for talking too much, which is why he has missing fingers. Royce is obsessed with finding the ship, and believes he can persuade the captured predator in the camp to fly it. Because the enemy of the enemy is a friend, Isabel shares with Royce her theory that they were chosen because on Earth, they were the predators and therefore monsters too. They discover Noland is gone when smoke suddenly fills the room. Edwin believes Noland is attempting to murder them in order to take all of their belongings because the door is also blocked. Royce throws a bomb against the wall, sending Noland running, but it doesn't even break through the wall as Noland is seen outside fanning the fire. But instead of attempting to break it, Royce purposefully made noise to draw the attention of a passing predator. The plan is successful, and soon after Nolan discovers that a predator has blocked the hallway, he uses lasers to instantly blow up Nolan. The alien then strikes a panel on the wall, opening a tiny doorway into the group's room, but it merely plays around with them. Royce approaches cautiously and inserts his gun into the opening to fire a flare, indicating that the predator has vanished from view. After successfully pushing the panel aside, the group manages to flee and now has to navigate some extremely dim hallways. While heading out, Edwin inadvertently gets separated from the group and starts screaming for assistance while setting off another flare, drawing the predator's attention. When Edwin hears a growl in the shadows, he flees until he eventually returns to the group. Despite his pleas for assistance, the group decides to move on without him. The predator then materializes in front of Edwin, but Nikolai intervenes to stop it before it can harm Edwin. Edwin flees as Nikolai battles the extraterrestrial, but he is quickly defeated. Before setting off a detonator, Nikolai uses the opportunity to spit in the alien's face after the predator stabs him and lifts him up with its blade. The resulting explosion kills them both and a shockwave sweeps through the ship, but the group manages to get out just in time. Outside the ship, Stans begins celebrating the fact they killed an alien, only to be suddenly knocked down by a predator that is now turning off its invisibility. The beast is about to kill Royce, but Stans jumps on it and starts stabbing the predator while telling the others to run. Furious over losing its prey, the predator throws Stans on the ground and rips out his spine. Then it roars and gets the attention of the third predator, who starts following the tracks left by the running group. At that moment, Hanzo hears they're being followed and tells the others to leave while he stays behind to buy them time. After the remaining trio leaves, Hanzo takes off his jacket and unsheathes his katana just in time to be found by the predator, who takes out its blade as well. A fierce sword fight begins, and although Hanzo is pushed away by the alien's strength a few times, he still manages to cut its stomach. After they exchange a few more blows, they attack each other at the same time and both fall to the ground, dying at the same time as well. Meanwhile, Edwin accidentally steps on a trap and can't walk. Royce points out the trap wasn't meant to kill but to hold the enemy, and Edwin is now dead weight. As Royce says they should either leave Edwin behind or booby trap him, Edwin shows them Nikolai's family picture, pretending it's his own kids. Since Isabel won't hurt or desert Edwin, Royce departs by himself. Shortly after, Royce arrives at the camp and strikes up a conversation with the imprisoned predator, offering him freedom in return for leaving this planet. Royce cuts the chains to free the alien, and it confirms it understands him. The predator reacts by snatching him by the neck. The beast examines Royce closely, then releases Royce and picks up its mask to replace it and turn on its machinery. The predator closes the deal by stopping on Earth and pulling up a star map of the universe on its arm brace before launching its spaceship. While Edwin is being assisted by Isabel in walking, they trip over a trap and become entangled in a web. When the third predator sees that its alien prey is now free, it throws the humans into a pit and starts dragging them back to camp, where it is waiting for them. Royce seizes the opportunity to sprint in the direction of the ship as the two predators engage in combat right away. The predators continue fighting as the spacecraft takes off, and after a few blows and gunfire, the alien that has been pursuing them overwhelms the ship's owner and chops off its head. The predator blows up the ship before it can travel very far after triumphing. Isabel, who is attacked by Edwin with a poisoned scalpel after he surprises her from behind, declares in the pit that she doesn't regret staying to help him. Edwin wants to stay on this planet because, as it turns out, he is a psychopathic killer who feels comfortable among other monsters. Just as he is about to kill Isabel, Royce appears out of nowhere because he never made it to the ship. Isabel wants to tell Royce about Edwin, but the paralysis from the poison prevents her from speaking. Royce helps the two escape the pit. Edwin tries to surprise Royce by coming from behind after he has left the pit, but Royce is quick to respond and grabs Edwin by the neck, causing him pain with his own poison. Afterwards, Edwin is left for the predator to find after Royce booby traps him. The predator is launched into the air, the doctor is killed, and a fire is started when the alien approaches Edwin and touches him. When the creature regains consciousness, it discovers Royce waiting for him. However, Royce tends to the flames and hides among them in order to interfere with the alien's only means of vision, infrared. Subsequently, Royce seizes an axe and starts sprinting, striking the predator and dashing into the fire to repeat the action. After striking Royce several times, the predator focuses on locating his heartbeat and wounds him by shooting the tree he is hiding behind. The alien then starts tossing Royce around, but Isabel drags her body to get to her weapon and fires before it can kill him. After the injured but still living alien shoots a dagger at Isabel's shoulder, Royce takes advantage of the distraction to get his axe and hits the predator several times. Then he finally finishes the fight by cutting the alien's head off. Afterward, Royce reunites with Isabel, and together they watch how more cages start falling from the sky. Royce announces they must find a way to leave soon.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.